Hey guys, welcome back. Nailah Abdullah here. Today we're going to be talking about how to avoid toxic relationships. This also applies to you if you consider the relationship to be narcissistic. We are just talking about relationships that are destructive to your well-being. You realize it is not healthy for you. Maybe you are still in the relationship and you're like, I never want to go through this again. How do I make sure I don't end up in a relationship like this again? Or you've been out already and you are afraid to start a new relationship because you're like, maybe I'll make the wrong decision again. Maybe you've had multiple toxic and narcissistic relationships and you want to know, how do I make sure this is not my story anymore? And I get it. They break you, they drain you, they take up your time, your energy. So you're in the right place. I'm going to give you 4 tips today on how to make sure you can avoid toxic relationships. So get your pen and paper out. The first step that I suggest for you to make is to be clear about what you want in a relationship first. Know how you want to be treated and what your deal breakers are. You see, something I realized when I came out of my own toxic narcissistic relationship of 10 years, I realized that no one really teaches you about being really clear about what you want your relationship to look like. Now, we have ideas, of course, and maybe you did grow up in a home where you were exposed to family life, husband and wife, etc., and you knew you wanted it to be good, but you weren't really clear about what are your expectations from your partner. And that's understandable because when you're young, you're not really thinking that deep, right? It's not until you get to a certain age you realize you need certain qualities in someone's character, right? We look at the other things, but we don't look at their core, their character. So that is something you want to become clear on. That's something I go deeper in with my clients in the Relationship Detox, my program, where we talk about what are your requirements and what are your deal breakers, right? What are the requirements for someone? Let me give you an example. When I got out of that relationship, some of the requirements that I had, I said, the next time I get into the relationship, I need someone who has a sense of compassion, who is affectionate. Something I notice in toxic and narcissistic relationships, when they're love bombing you, they're showing you a lot of love, a lot of affection, a lot of attention. But when they get cold, right, when the mask falls off and they feel comfortable to really show you who they are, you start to experience emotional neglect. And that is something I didn't realize until I got out of the relationship. And oftentimes, a lot of us women who go through these relationships, we're pretty independent. We're not really needy women. We're okay in our skin. We're okay in our own company. So on some level, we're like, all right, it's no big deal, right? I can do this by myself. I don't need you to help me with this or travel here with me or go here with me or support here with me. But what I realized in my healing journey is that it's not about whether you need it, it's about the support, right? Can you do it on your own? Of course. We can do most things on our own. But when you are in a relationship and you're pouring into someone, it needs to be reciprocated, right? And the way a man reciprocates will be different the way a woman reciprocates because we are created differently and we have different roles in the dynamics of a healthy relationship. Okay? So you want to be clear about what do you expect. Like I said, for me, I said when I get out, I want to make sure I have someone who is affectionate like I am, who can communicate their feelings, good and bad, who is open to feedback, but who sees the value in communication, where I don't have to beg for a conversation, where I don't have to beg to discuss something that maybe made me feel uncomfortable or maybe made them feel uncomfortable. And we're able to have uncomfortable conversations for the greater good, right? To enhance our relationship, to strengthen our relationship. So those were some of the requirements, and no one teaches this, right? Your parents are not teaching you this, right? When you're a young woman, on how to, at least most parents that I know of. If you had that, you're lucky, and thank your parents. And it's not that they don't, they didn't want the best for you, but a lot of times people don't even realize that all of this has to go into this because the reality is most women like myself who get into these relationships, get into them as long-term relationships that they turn out to be toxic or narcissistic, but they're long-term because most of the times I believe women with characteristics like us, we don't want to go from relationship to relationship. We want stability. We want that long term relationship for the rest of your life. So it's critical to become very clear before you select someone to give your mind, body, and soul to, right? You need to be clear about what you expect. It's also unfair to get into a relationship, not be clear on your end, and then expect them to automatically fit into what you expect. You haven't even communicated it because you don't know it yourself. So this is something I go deep into. We have a workbook on it as well in my program, where I teach my clients on how to become clear, how to structure, what characteristics are you looking for, so you know exactly, when someone comes across your path, you know exactly whether they are a good fit for you or not. Okay? The second point on how to avoid a toxic relationship or narcissistic relationship is to relinquish the desperation for relationship. There is a difference. Sorry, I ate some eggs earlier and I still feel it. Um, there is a difference between being desperate for a relationship and wanting a relationship. It's healthy to meet someone, have someone in your life, and you want the relationship to work. You didn't get in it to not want it to work, right? That's just common sense. However, the difference with desperation is you are desperate when you are ignoring things that are not healthy for you, when you are ignoring their behavior that is hurting you, right? That means you're willing to sacrifice yourself just for the sake of the relationship. Okay. And that is something common. A lot of times, women I notice that I've worked with, or even for myself, we feel like, I can fix them, I can change them. You can influence someone who wants to be influenced, but they have to change themselves. Let me repeat that. You can influence change in someone who wants to be influenced, but they have to do the work to change. And they firstly have to even want to be influenced. Okay. So that is something that you have to think about is, do I want it, or is this borderline unhealthy? You see, I'll admit I was desperate and I didn't realize it at the time. It wasn't until I went through my healing journey when I started to reflect is that I was desperate to have the family life, and I thought that regardless of what he did, that I would be able to fix it because I was idolizing, and that's where we get into some spirituality now. I was idolizing the image of family, right? But no matter how desperate you are for something, if someone is not a good fit, you can't force it, okay? You cannot force it. You can try, but the more you try, the more pain you're going to cause to yourself, the more suffering you're going to cause to yourself, and the more time you're going to waste. All right? It's the unfit puzzle pieces, I call it. You can't force that piece to fit into your puzzle. Maybe you have structured your life perfectly in all other areas. You got your friends, you got your family, you got your career, you got your this, your that. And you figure, I'm just going to stick this man in here because this is who I'm with. I don't want to start over. Ding, ding, ding. That's another key one. I don't want to start over. I'm going to make it work. You can't make someone fit into your puzzle if they're not the right fit. Okay? So relinquish the desperation. You can want a relationship, but if you want to ask yourself, well, am I desperate? Right? If you're starting to explore new relationships, or whenever that time comes, you want to make sure I want it, but I'm not desperate enough to sacrifice my well-being. I'm not desperate enough to ignore the red flags. I'm not desperate enough to try to force someone to be who I want them to be. If they're clearly showing me either they don't want to be it or they don't have the capacity. Some people don't have the capacity to have the characteristics that you want, right? So sometimes it's not even that they don't want to, they just don't have the capacity. Emotional intelligence is a real thing. We often talk about IQ, intellectual intelligence, but I'm sorry, IQ, I forgot the terminology. IQ, emotional intelligence, intellectual intelligence, right? But emotional intelligence is extremely important. Some people don't have that development, that emotional maturity to understand how to put their ego down, how to put their pride aside, how to prioritize the health of their wife, of their family, of the peace in their household, right? And vice versa. I'm talking to women here, but if you're a man, you can turn this the other way as well. It goes both ways, all right? The third point of how to avoid a toxic relationship You have to become comfortable with setting boundaries. And this actually ties into the previous point of desperation. If you're desperate, you're not going to set boundaries. And if you do, you're not going to maintain them because you are so afraid of upsetting the person, of pushing them away. But here is the truth. When someone is healthy for you, when someone has your best interests at heart and the health of the relationship at heart, they're not going to be pushed away by boundaries. Even if maybe it rubs them the wrong way at some point because they're not used to setting boundaries or they're not used to people setting boundaries or whatever the reason is. And we're human. Sometimes we get rubbed the wrong way. At some point, sooner than later, they will come around and say, you know what? I respect it. I understand it. Right? So you have to get comfortable. If you are not comfortable with setting boundaries, do not get into a relationship, any relationship, because even if it's a healthy person, even if it's not a toxic or narcissistic person, that relationship is going to struggle because you have to be able to be clear about what you want, not be desperate to the point where you don't want to set boundaries, right? And boundaries is not about, punishing someone. You have to do this. It's about communicating what the options are for you and what the options aren't, right? I've shared before in my previous relationship, there was profanity used towards me, and I find that highly disrespectful. And it's not that I haven't used profanity before. Nobody is perfect. But I believe when you get into a heated argument or heated conversation with your partner, you have to be careful about the words that you use. It should not be thrown out loosely, especially if it's brought to your attention and you go ahead and you do it anyway. I remember him saying things like, well, who the hell do you think you are, queen? Now, this was not in the beginning, right? This was after he got comfortable and figured that he can just do whatever and there would never be any consequences. But that is that's boundaries actually too, right? It's about consequences for the actions. In order to be connected to me, in order to have access to me, this is what I require. And if you cannot meet that, it doesn't mean that you're a bad person. I'm not even here to label you. I don't have time to label everybody, right? But it means that you do not fit in what I need for me to be my best self. That's really what boundaries are about. But you can't set boundaries if you don't know what you want and if you're desperate. So this all ties into each other, okay? The fourth way that I recommend that you avoid toxic relationships is to select healthy environment for yourself where healthy relationships are common. So one of the things that I have noticed, one of the traits that I have noticed, and some of the women that I have worked with is that not only have they been in toxic or narcissistic relationships, but they are used to seeing dysfunctional relationships around them, whether it be in their family or in their circle of friends. You see, you have to be very careful about who you expose yourself to because your bubble, your circle will create your reality in a sense, right? Right now, this world, we are dealing with wars all over, but let's talk about the Middle East, for example. There's a friend of our family and he was sharing, I forgot, we were talking about something, and he said, yeah, you got to be strong. There's people living with bombs going off every day. And he's from the Middle East as well. And I understood what he meant, like, toughen up a little bit. Some people have it worse. But the way my mind works as a mental health professional, I'm like, wow, for him, whatever struggles come across here where we are, it's no big deal. Because where he's from and where his family is, they are dealing with bombs going off on a regular basis, people dying on a regular basis, right? So his view of the world is completely different from mine, right? Because I have not experienced that, nor do I know anyone in my inner circle who has experienced that, right? So for his reality is different than mine. And that also means that he might tolerate certain things, expose himself to certain things that maybe I wouldn't, because in his mind, that's his threshold. Bombs going off and people dying on a regular basis is his threshold, right? And it's not about right or wrong. It's just about what is your normal, right? So when you have a circle of friends, and I've seen this, women who have circle of friends who are used to dysfunctional relationships, who are going in and out of relationships, with men who, are playing games with them, not respecting them, a lot of back and forth. Listen to me. Get first of all, let me say this. Get the book by Steve Harvey. Act like a man, think like a man, act like a lady. I believe that's the title. It's an old book by now. But what I loved about that book is that he made it so simple. He was like, when a man loves you, when he has the right intentions for you, this was the overall gist of that book, but get it anyway and read it. There's not going to be a whole lot of back and forth. Men only go back and forth with you because they know you're going to allow it, and it gives them time to play and to be foolish. When a man knows, if I play too long with this woman, I'm going to lose this woman, and I want this woman, I want to grow old with this woman, I want to build with this woman, they're not going to play any games. They won't dare risk giving you any space for someone else to snatch you up because they value you so much. They see the value in you. Okay? So when you look at your circle of friends, I want you to assess, and your family as well. Sometimes even your own mother might not have healthy relationship patterns. And it doesn't mean you have to cut your mother off, but you have to be careful about who you discuss relationships with, right? Just because they're your friends and family don't mean that they are equipped to support you and give you relationship advice. So look at your circle, look at your environment. This is not that you're judging your friends and you're gonna, cut them off completely, but you have to be careful about what you expose yourself to and who you go to for support. You're not gonna go to the carpenter to ask him for help on your plumbing, right? Because that's not his field. That's not his expertise, right? He's not living that plumber life, right? So you're not going to go to the carpenter to ask plumbing advice, all right? If you are afraid that you will end up in another toxic or narcissistic relationship, maybe you're in one now, and you're like, I don't want to go through this again. Or if you are already out, excuse me, and you consider starting another relationship, but you're like, I don't want to go through this again. Maybe you've been through it multiple times. I know that's also common for women who I have worked with that are in toxic and narcissistic relationships. It's not their first. Let me tell you, it's not a coincidence. I'm not saying that from a judgmental place, but it's not a coincidence. There are things in our mindset that got us in there. And those are the things that I focus on. What got you there, what kept you there, and what parts of you need to change to make sure you don't end up there again. Okay? It is necessary to go through that healing journey, going through that process, answering those questions, because if not, you will end up in the same situation again, another unhealthy relationship. If you're not able to answer those questions, because those questions allow you to evolve. So if that is something that is important to you, go ahead and click the link in the description box below to check out a little bit more about the Relationship Detox. That's where I work with women, helping them to heal, to rebuild themselves, to make sure they get through the aftermath of a toxic or narcissistic relationship. You can also go to www.therelationshipdetox.co. That's www. That's a tongue twister, huh? therelationshipdetox.co to get more information. We are currently on a wait list, but you can join the wait list to make sure that you have a seat because the spots are limited, and we will open up for enrollment between the 1st and the 5th. I hope that this video helped you. I hope that this episode served you. If you're not already subscribed, go ahead and subscribe, and I will see you in the next video.